party set to sack Mugabe, sources say, as Zimbabweans march on residence. Harare, Reuters. Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party will meet on Sunday to dismiss President Robert Mugabe and reinstate the vice president he dismissed, Emmerson Mnangagwa, two party sources told Reuters on Saturday. The sources said a party central committee meeting scheduled for 10:30 a.m., 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time, would also dismiss 93-year-old Mugabe's preferred successor, his wife Grace, from her role as head of the ZANU-PF Women's League. Mugabe's 37-year rule has been effectively at an end since the army seized control on Wednesday, confining him to his residence, saying it wanted to target the criminals around him. Shortly after the sources revealed the meeting, a motorcade left Mugabe's official residence in the capital Harare to boos and jeers from onlookers, although it was unclear if he was inside. Hundreds of thousands of people had flooded the streets of Harare singing, dancing, and hugging soldiers in an outpouring of elation at Mugabe's demise, while others marched towards his residence. In scenes reminiscent of the downfall of Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu in 1989, men, women, and children ran alongside the armored cars and the troops who stepped in this week to oust the only ruler Zimbabwe has known since independence in 1980. Under house arrest in his lavish blue-roof compound, he has watched support from his ZANU-PF party, security services and people evaporate in less than 3 days. Mugabe's nephew, Patrick João, told Reuters the elderly leader and his wife were ready to die for what is correct, rather than step down in order to legitimize what he described as a coup. Tears of joy speaking from a secret location in South Africa, João said Mugabe had hardly slept since the military took over, but his health was otherwise good. On Harare's streets, Zimbabweans spoke of a second liberation for the former British colony, alongside their dreams of political and economic change after 2 decades of deepening repression and hardship. These are tears of joy, said Frank Motsindikwa, 34, holding aloft the Zimbabwean flag. I've been waiting all my life for this day. Free at last. We are free at last. Mugabe's downfall is likely to send shockwaves across Africa, where a number of entrenched strongmen, from Uganda's Yoweri Museveni to Democratic Republic of Congo's Joseph Kabila, are facing mounting pressure to step aside. The Secretary-General of Zimbabwe's War Veterans Association, Victor Mtemedanda, called on those at an anti-Mugabe rally to march on Mugabe's residence, and live television footage showed hundreds of protesters marching in that direction. Let us now go and deliver the message that grandfather Mugabe and his typist cum wife should go home, Mtemedanda told the crowd in the Harare township of Highfield. The crowds in Harare have so far given a quasi-democratic veneer to the army's intervention, backing its claims that it is merely effecting a constitutional transfer of power, which would help it avoid the diplomatic backlash and opprobrium that normally follows coups. The military had been prompted to act by Mugabe's decision to sack Mnangagwa, Grace Mugabe's main rival to succeed her husband. The next presidential election is due next year. Zimbabweans abroad were also awaiting the end of Mugabe's rule. Hundreds living in Britain gathered outside the country's embassy in central London calling on the leader to step aside. I am happy today because Bob Mugabe is about to go. He must go. At least if he goes, we'll have a change of president after so many years of injustice, said Florence, a 34-year-old who declined to give her last name. For some Africans, Mugabe remains a nationalist hero, the continent's last independence leader and a symbol of its struggle to throw off the legacy of decades of colonial subjugation. But to many more at home and abroad, he was reviled as a dictator happy to resort to violence to retain power and to run a once promising economy into the ground. Although Mugabe had been digging in his heels in the face of army pressure to quit, he appeared to have run out of road, devoid of domestic or international support. Political sources and intelligence documents seen by Reuters said Mugabe's exit was likely to pave the way for an interim unity government led by Mnangagwa, a lifelong Mugabe aide and former security chief known as the Crocodile. Stabilizing the free-falling economy will be the #1 priority, the document said. The United States, a longtime Mugabe critic, said it was looking forward to a new era in Zimbabwe, while President Ian Khama of neighboring